Welcome to the Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop. The Guitar Shop is officially open today. Guitar shops are guitar players' mecca where you can try out gear and learn about new gear. So I'm Daniel B. I'm a Guitar for Vets Cav Arts virtual guitar instructor and your humble host of this Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop. In our last episode of the Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop, we looked at using an interface and using your device's Mac, PC, laptop, tablet, or smartphone as a guitar rig. There is a recording of that last event that's under the on the Cav Arts website under modules and more, and it would be episode 15 of the Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop. Also on if you do YouTube, we have it on the Guitar for Vets YouTube channel in case you don't have the Cav Arts. All right, so today we're going to discuss more fun with an audio interface, and we are going to look at the basics of home recording on your Mac or PC using an audio interface with a digital audio workstation or DAW software and I can't talk, and related plugins. You'll hear and see such terms as VST, which is an acronym for Virtual Studio Technology, when searching for plugins. Plugins can consist of effects, synthesizers, drums, and much more. So why a home recording? Now, there's a lot of benefits to it. So if you're just learning and you want to hear you're practicing, you want to know what you're sounding like, where you need maybe some work on, it's great for your practicing. If you're into writing, then you could save yourself a whole bunch of money on recording by making your own little home studio. Depending on the quality of a recording you desire, the rate is somewhere around $50 to $200 an hour right now. And that's not including engineering fees and mixdown fees. So you can see that it's beneficial to invest, if you're a writer, into a little bit of getting your audio interface and getting some DAW and plugins to record yourself. All right. So as a home studio mentioned in our last episode, can be used to record your practice, record or play along with a backing track, or for the songwriter, a medium to record your song ideas or produce whole songs. In this episode, we'll discuss how to create a home studio on a small budget. That'll be part of our discussion. And some audio interfaces come with software bundles for free, or you can download free DAW and plugins with options to upgrade. Upgrades can do cost, but they can be pretty inexpensive unless you really want to get into some of the real pro stuff, and that's up to you. On we go to our goal today. Please bear in mind, our goal today is going to be recording guitars and vocals, by the way. Please bear in mind that our discussions are based on our experience, opinions, and every effort is taken to verify any information we put forth. Any references to brands is for demonstration purposes only. We at the Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop have no affiliations with any of the brands that we are discussing. It is my pleasure now to introduce the Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop's very own guitar gurus, and also both our Guitar for Vets guitar instructors, John, buy me a pedal effect and I'll love you a long time, DeMarco, and Michael, have audio interface will blow your mind, O'Connell. Okay, Michael will start us off with explaining the necessary equipment, setting up the audio interface, and configuring the DAW. Then John will continue the discussion with recording guitar and vocals. So let me try to bring this up for you, Mr. Michael. There it is. And this is going to be the outline for what Michael's going to be discussing with us today. Can you all see that? Okay, he's going to discuss a studio setup, a demo, pre-recorded 2-track song segment, plugins used, create a basic project and a problem, right? And assign inputs. Did I get that right, Michael? I guess I did.
You did. I had to unmute myself. Yeah.
Perfect. All
Great.
right,
Thank
so
you.
how you doing today, Mr. O'Connell? You go for lunch.
Let me check. I just here's my philosophy on life. I've got a
Yeah,
pulse. Everything else is gravy at our age. You know that, Daniel. So,
I hear
no,
you.
fantastic, fantastic. Well, thanks for the introduction. Okay, so this is, I got to tell you, when I started getting into recording a couple of years ago, it was as intimidating as hell. And I don't mean just getting my phone out and those sorts of things. Hearing yourself for the first time can be a little intimidating too. But I mean, getting into a DAW, getting into the equipment you need to record. So I did a ton of research that you guys, you'll do some of, and hopefully, what we can do today is kind of bypass some of that for you, sort of shortcut it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop right here. Let me turn off monitoring on my mic. Okay, so if you all see my slides,
Yes.
okay, good, good, good. All right, so this is going to be about recording guitar and vocals, not backing tracks or inserting backing tracks, those sorts of things. And let me see, this is supposed to be playing. Hello. All right. As usual, it works great the minute before you have to present it, and then okay, so we're going to go ahead and get out of there. I'm just going to share it with you and then scroll through the slides because my mouse isn't really cooperating today. All right, so what I want to do is get through some of the basic terminology. I'm not going to go through all of these, but you'll hear them. They're actually pretty important to understand what they are as you go through using a DAW and recording. But bit depth is essentially a level of quality of your recording. Recordings happen in little segments. We call them samples, and the bit depth is how much data is in each sample, right? 1 bit is it's on or it's off. That's a terrible sound. 48, right? As you go higher, you get finer granularity of your samples or of your recordings. Bouncing is you take a track and you or all your tracks and you put them out to an MP3 file or an AIF file or some other file format that you can listen to or send along. Clipping, John will look at that a little more detail. It's when your input signal, think of a microphone or your guitar as sending a little electrical current to your audio interface, and that audio interface then amplifies it and sends it over to your computer into your digital audio workstation. And so if your signal is too strong, the audio interface isn't able to send a pure signal. It starts to break up. And so you'll see that, and John will show this to you, you'll see that on your little audio meters for each channel or each track, and you'll see when it starts to peak and go into the red zone. That's called clipping. You don't want to do that, as John will explain. Let's see, I'm not going to go through compression. It's essentially a way to process everything to make sure that the sound is even across the guitar, for example. There's not too high notes or loud notes, soft notes, but there's a lot more to it. Let's see. We looked at dynamic microphones, and previously you saw the condenser microphone on the previous slide. But I do want to get into just talk about EQ or equalization for a minute. I will show you what that looks like, but that's essentially taking the breadth of sound. So as you strum your guitar, if you look at a graphic equalizer, you would see, and I'll show you, you'll see peaks and troughs, valleys, right? And you get to emphasize which of those. Is it the high notes you want to emphasize, the low notes? You want to bring more bass out in your guitar? I tweak this, and again, I'll show you how, but EQ is really important for each instrument track or vocal track that you record. And then let's just go back here. Gain refers to the amplification of the audio signal. That's what'll get you in trouble with distortion. It's useful for guitars if you want to blow out your amps to the point where it does distort. That's what early rock guitarists did, and now you can do it with amps or pedals. But you don't want to do that necessarily with your vocals. Okay, headroom is the amount of volume that is left in a track that as you increase it goes to distortion. So think of a bucket that's 90% full. If you get an inch of rain, it's going to overflow the bucket. So maybe you want to, if you know you're getting rain or input into your tracks a certain volume, you want to keep the volume down to maybe 80% or 70%, so that as you play with the volume, as you're mixing your tracks, you have what they call headroom, or enough room to increase the volume without going to distortion. Again, a critical concept that John will show you. And then mastering, you saw, was basically putting it all into a format, your song, that then can be sent, or listened to online or streamed. I will show you a couple of these things and define them as I go. We've talked about preamps and phantom power before. Could somebody mute their mic for me? Hi. Could someone mute their mic for me? All right, make sure everybody's mics are muted. How's that? Another one that you'll see is wet and dry. So as you mix sound through through some sort of a plug-in or some sort of an effects processor, you have typically these effects processors will give you, or these plugins will give you the ability to send a certain amount of the raw signal through to your output device, and you can then decide how much of the mix of the affected signal, whether it's reverb or other things, or you'll see some effects, overdrive, how much of that gets sent to the output. You can crank it all the way to 100, so it's all a wet signal, or you can pull it back and bring in some of the dry or the original signal into the output. So that's what wet and dry mean. So any questions about that while I have these slides up? Okay. Let me show you the diagram I mentioned last time, I gave you last time. So your audio interface sits in the middle. In our case, we have a guitar and a mic input. I'll show you that on my my own audio interface. I'll show you, I'll talk a little bit about headphones, which is on the right of this diagram. I will then go into studio monitors, optional by the way. You don't have to have studio monitors to listen and mix your sound. They're nice to have. And then the computer side of things, right? And which is what we're going to be looking at in the DAW. Okay. All right. So I'm going to grab my camera because I'm going to show you the actual equipment I use. It's a little messy. I apologize for that, but you'll get a better idea instead of talking, to diagrams. So hey, this is my. You
need to unshare the slides so you can.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, stop sharing. All right, so here's my camera. Okay, so that's my pedal board. Now I'm gonna get as close as I can with this cord. On the right, you see that 6-button, 1 black, 3 largest 4. Right, that is my MIDI controller. That stores commands that change with each song, and I step on a button to create an effect. So in this case, the MIDI controller, it's not set up on a song right now, but on the left side, the large button, I press and release that button to start my backing track. On the right side, you see a button. I step on that to bring in my harmonies for my vocals. The big black button on top is the blow up the world button. It either brings in overdrive. It depends on the song. You can set this up per song. Overdrive. It's really cool. So I can bring in overdrive at a particular point in the song, and my MIDI software will run it for a certain length of time and then turn off the overdrive for me, so I don't have to keep stepping on buttons. And this is Morningstar Engineering, and they're even getting better at that delay capability and timing capability. So that is my control everything pedal. Up on the right side is called an expression pedal. It sends a 0 to 127 number to my computer through the MIDI controller, and then I can use that. I can use it as a fader, right, on a certain track that I'm playing, or I can use it as a volume pedal for my guitar. Number of things you can do with that, but consider it a general purpose pedal that sends MIDI numbers to your MIDI software that's running right on your computer, that then controls what happens in your effects. This is live. I don't use this for recording. This is all live. I set it up earlier. So on the top, you'll see the right, there's a tuner, a small tuner, and on the left, there's a small looper. In the middle is my Focusrite Scarlett 4i4 audio interface. I have another one on my desk that I'll show you. On the left, and you'll see why this one's here, but on the left, you see there's a tray for my MacBook. Okay. So that's my pedal board. It used to have a whole ton of pedals on it. I used to do pedal dances, and I said, this is crazy. I want more effects that I can use easily without having to buy another pedal and dance on a pedal board. Okay. What else will I show you? So now I'm going to go to, let's put my this one on. These are closed back headphones. This is what you wear when you're recording. And you'll see why in a minute. But this allows the sound to hit your ears, but it doesn't come out of the headphones and bleed into your microphone while you're singing. These are open back headphones. You can see the drivers right there. When you're recording, you want to keep the sound from bleeding out into your microphone. When you're mixing and mastering, you want to hear pure sound. What happens with the headphones, the closed-back headphones, is that the bass tones tend to be emphasized. And so the bass builds up in the headphone, and you end up getting an unrealistic picture of what that mix sounds like. So if you're mixing, instead of studio monitors, get yourself a good pair of open-back headphones. And by good, you can find reviews, but there's a response range. Right? Let's say it's 16 hertz to 22 kilohertz. So you want a set of headphones that covers the frequency range of the music that you're recording and mixing. Otherwise, you're not going to hear the tones, right? So if it cuts off at 100 hertz, you're going to lose out some bass tones. If it cuts off right at, so you want to make sure they cover it. These are HD 600s. Oh gosh, who's the brand? These are Sennheiser. I don't check my brands often, but so if you're going to spend money on something, a good pair of headphones will go a long way. Okay. All right, I'm going to lift up this little guy on top of Cranbourne Audio. I don't use it now. It is a headphone driver, because you have to have you plug your headphones into something, right? You have to have a headphone amplifier in this case that can power the headphones that you have. And so learn about that. Don't just go buy your headphones and expect to plug them in and hear the right sound. This is an external. It's kind of a pricey one, which like I say, I no longer use, because my 4i4, my Scarlett, has a headphone jack with basically a really good amplifier in it for headphones as well. So I don't need this. It sits up there for now, right? You can see on the front of this, I have the mic input, and you see this little tiny indicator, that circle that keeps moving? That's my level for my microphone. And microphone is not the one I'm talking in here. It's the one sitting up here, right next to me. But it's not. You're not hearing that. You're hearing my little USB mic. The next port, which I don't have anything plugged into, I use for my guitar. And notice that's the multi-jack port, right? You can see the round hole in the middle for 1/4-inch jacks, and you can see the 3-pronged, right? So that odd-shaped little, set of holes in the middle of it as well, with the round circle around it. That's where your XLR cable plugs in, right? So if you look at this, it looks like that. Okay, on the back of this particular one, we looked at that jack for headphones, and if you're mixing, that's all you need. But on the back of this, I've got a bunch of stuff because I have cables coming out that go into either my Cranbourne audio, right, my headphone amplifier, or out to my what's this called, a big knob. It's essentially a way of moving my output around to either my monitors or anywhere elsewhere, and I have inputs and output selections, and then this knob just is a volume control. Right? Okay. So that controls not my headphones, because that's controlled by my audio interface, but that controls essentially the volume to my monitor, my in-room monitors. Okay. You don't need as pricey equipment as this to do it, but these are the basic components. You don't even need this, right? You can use the knob on the front of your this guy to adjust the volume going out to your monitors if you plug them into the back of here. I just like this instead. Okay, so what do I have? So this is my computer workstation. This is my MIDI keyboard. It's not an organ, it's or piano. It actually sends MIDI signals to my DAW. We're not going to talk about that anymore today. Here's my tray with my little regular keyboard. These are focal monitors. They're nice. They're not the high-end, $4,000 a piece version. But I have two of those, and they're set so that I sit in an equilateral triangle. The monitors are the same distance apart as each monitor is to my ears. And I actually have a mark on the floor. So when I'm sitting here, I know those monitors are aiming right at my ears. And that's the way you get the purest signal without it hearing what's bouncing around the room, right? If you face them straight out, you're going to be getting sound from the monitors, from the back of the room, right, etc. And so, which brings up another point. I don't have any treatment in this room.
I'm getting dizzy.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, there you go. I don't. I'm just showing you my walls. I don't have any treatment on these walls, right? So when I record, I'm getting ambient room sounds. But in this room, for whatever reason, it works out pretty well. And then I have my MacBook over here, which again, I just lift this off, unplug everything, put it on my pedal board, and it then becomes my performance tool. So everything I do on my MacBook, it just drop down there. It manages the audio, right? I have the identical audio interface on my pedal board as this one. And so lo and behold, it just works. My MIDI stuff works. It just works. I plug it in, done. All right. So do you have any questions about that? Anything I've shown you? Because now is the time, and we can ask them later, but while they're hot on your mind, let me know. Okay.
I can unmute. Hang on. Go ahead, unmute yourself if you want to talk.
We were talking about space management. How much time do you spend kind of planning your layout for just performance, that type of thing? Somebody was asking the sizes of the equipment. Somebody was asking about that. And then how do you kind of plan out?
When you're out on a gig?
Yeah.
If you don't have front of house, you're not running DI into somebody's mixer and they've got all the speakers set up. I didn't show you, but I will give you this. So that is a JBL PA and that tower on it contains a battery, and it contains, I think, 6 or 8 tweeters. There are two 12 inches inside here. The cabinet is built beautifully. It's got a 6 hertz it goes all the way down to the low bass, all the way up to as high frequencies as you can hear. Okay, so you can't really plan a space. I mean, what is it, a coffee shop, or right? You can't really. Is it outdoors? You can't plan that. So what I do is I make sure. I used to do this with a little amp, by the way, when I got started. What I make sure is that this is my PA. I like this, right, because I know this, and it produces great sound. And I EQ for generally for a room setting, or even I can I have a couple of EQs I can use overall EQ, right, whether I'm outside or not. But this also has some of that. I don't do that there. I'll do it in my DAW. I just flatten this out and I let it produce sound, and then it's just volume at that point. Okay.
Kathy, what did you mean by so a little bigger than an external keyboard?
That's when I was asking the basic size for that footprint. And Leaf said it's about a 2 by 8 inch.
For
The piano, the keyboard,
the MIDI
MIDI
keyboard?
No, for
Oh.
the foot pedal and
Oh, yeah. Oh,
stand.
gotcha.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, that's about a 2 by 8. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, that. Yeah. I mean, they have smaller ones. They have, but you want an expression pedal if you're using MIDI. You want a volume pedal if you're just plugging your guitar into it. So that's the distinction there. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to go into, I'll just pop up this slide again real quick. If I can find, this is the problem I have all the time, is like, where did the zoom controls go? Here we are. So I'm going to share that, and I'm going to share this slide just to give you a sense of what we're going to do. So I showed you the studio setup. Now I'm going to demo a two-track song that I pre-recorded. I will show you the general interface for, this is GarageBand. And then I will give you I'll show you the plugins I use. I'll let you listen to the tracks. I'll tell you how I recorded it, and then we'll talk about a little bit of creating your own project, GarageBand. Now I will tell you, I don't know what's on. I'm going to stop sharing that. I don't know what is on your PC, but in the Apple environment, I can go from GarageBand, set up my plugins in particular ways, save those as presets within each plugin. Then I can go to MainStage, which is what I use to perform with, use those identical plugins with the same setups, and I can do that within my full DAW, which is Logic. Identical plugins, same setups. So for me, I can go from kick around GarageBand, which I don't use very often because I use Logic as my DAW, but I can go from Logic, record, and use the very same sounds without any work at all in my performances. So that's one reason that I like the Mac environment. You may find the same thing on Windows in some software. Maybe Ableton does that if they're on Windows, but okay.
In Windows, I've been testing out Traction. There's a free version of Traction Waveform. And there's also Cakewalk by BandLab, which is now free. Although there's 3 different series of the Cakewalk. You have Cakewalk Core and Cakewalk Sonar. You want just the Cakewalk by BandLabs. There's Fender Studio just came out with a little bit of a DAW setup that's not too bad to get you started with, and it's free. But there's options that are just as comparable to the PC world as it is to the Mac world.
Cool. It should be by now. Okay, so let's jump into the DAW, and let me share that with you. Okay, so this is Logic. I mean, this is GarageBand. This is a project that I created, and I'll just give you the background. I jumped in here. It was empty. I said, new project. I clicked, and I said, give me a new audio track. I labeled it vocals. I renamed it vocals, right? And if you notice what an audio track comes in with, so there's nothing there. I haven't recorded it, but you can, if I go to this mic, you can see, depends on what mic I have as input. But anyway, you can see that it's hearing me, right? That little bar that keeps going forward. I'm not going to get into the details. John can show you some of that, but these control whether you can hear yourself while you're recording. It controls whether this track gets recorded when you push the record button up here at the top, the little red button, etc. The other things that I'll show you are, aside from the kind of this general box, so there's a bit in there I'm not going to touch on, but one of the things here is the input. So you can see that iRig Mic Studio, iRig Mic Studio. Okay, so why is it saying that? Well, let me go, and you can't see it, but I'm going to go to GarageBand, and I'm going to go to Settings. I'm going to go to Audio, and I'm going to say my input device is my Scarlett 4i4. Hello? Okay. And now when I go here, you see that change to Scarlett 4i4? Right? And now I have actually 6 inputs on this Scarlett, even though it's a 4. Now I can say, okay, this is coming in on channel 1 of my Scarlett. And if you recall, that's where I plugged my XLR cable in for my mic. It was the left-hand channel. If I'm recording a guitar track, right, which is also an audio track, even though it's an electric guitar, I put those on channel 2. Okay. So this is where you once you set GarageBand in its general settings. If I drag that here, do you see the little box that has settings? Okay, so
Yeah, we're
audio,
seeing it.
yeah, I'm a verbal guy. So audio input, right? Input device, Scarlett 4i4. Well, if I put it back to my iRig Mic Studio, now it's listening to my mic. So I'm going to put it back here on this. That's great. And let's get that out of there. All right. So the other thing is I'll point out is that when I go to if I look at this audio. If you go to the left here, you notice there are these presets. So if I'm recording my voice, let's say I want to record my natural voice. So I'm going to go back to 1, record my natural voice. All this is done is if you look below, you see these presets, plugins called de-esser. It gets the s out of your voice. Channel EQ, I will show you that. If it takes certain frequencies and adjusts them. I go here and I go, these are my standard vocals. So when I'm recording and speaking and singing, I can see the waveform and I can see which of these areas, these ranges of frequencies for my vocals are coming through at what levels, and I can, increase or decrease, right, those levels. So it's much more robust than that, but I will leave it at that. So I have that my standard vocals EQ'd, and then you notice it's putting in a compressor. Read about those; they're pretty valuable tools. It's putting in that's an echo, which I could turn on and off. So this preset, just like dance vocals, right, comes. I mean, I'll call these presets, but they're basically sound libraries. Come with its own set of presets. You don't have to worry about it. And so you can just scroll through these and try out different vocals. Now, you can do this pre or post. You can do this pre-recording or post-recording. So I could set up my vocal that way. I could hit the record button, and then it would record as it's hearing my voice with those presets. I'm going to turn off that monitor. Okay, we'll stop that. Or once it's there, and I'm going to show you this with the guitar. Once it's there, I can just go back and change these things, put new ones in, my own if I want, right? And it will change the sound of your recorded track. Because what I'm going to show you now is this is my guitar track. I'm going to turn off the presets, and I'm going to play the track. And this, tell me if you hear this. Do you hear things? Okay.
Yep.
Let me push the volume. Okay, by the way, for all you budding guitarists out there, that's a simple arpeggio. Dum, 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 dum. Okay. So in main stage, which is where I usually play around with things, I said, okay, I really want to have a different sound to that. So I have something called Guitar Rig 7FX. It's a plugin. If you love guitar, you love this thing. And I put in something called Cosmic Chicago, which has a pitch pedal, and an effects processor here, which I really love as well. Okay, so I say, okay, well, this is my guitar, my raw guitar. What happens if I turn this on? That didn't take hours in a studio with some rocket engineer, right? That took plug in, pick a sound, and turn it on. Okay? Now I'm gonna point out this little pitch pedal to you because I'm gonna change it as it's playing. I'm gonna turn it off. Whoops, let me turn this back on. Okay, I'm gonna do this in sequence. I'm gonna hold that right there. So let me turn this on, play. And I'm gonna turn this on. Okay. It's kind of hard with the vocals in there too. What pitch pedal did is it actually changed the pitch of my electric guitar. It dropped it down 2 frets. I didn't have to retune my guitar. I could up pitch it, didn't have to retune my guitar. It works with electric because you can't hear the electric acoustically. It will not work with an acoustic because people will hear the acoustic guitar and then you hear the down. But I did that for my voice. I do that a lot with for my vocals. I'll change the chords, change the, I'll up tune my guitar or down tune my guitar. I have a down tuned guitar just for my vocals, an acoustic, so I don't have to keep changing it. But this will do it for your electric, and you can do it at will, whatever pitch you want. Okay, so all I did to do that was I plugged my guitar cable into that audio interface. I clicked the little button that says record, and I pushed record, the button here. That's it. And I played. John's going to get into that in much more detail. I'll just kind of scroll through this again so you hear the vocals, but I'll speed it up. Okay, so I'm going to turn off that monitoring because it's listening to my mic. If you'll notice here, for the vocals, I have a tuner. This is Wave Tune. You can see it working in real time. As my vocals slightly vary off pitch, it pulls it back in for me. I won't embarrass myself by turning it off. But I have an EQ, I have a compressor. A compressor is, again, it evens out the volume of it. And I have a beautiful, I will just promote this, even though it's not our job to promote things. Capitol Chambers, Capitol Records in Los Angeles has concrete rooms that they use for recording. They've done it for decades. They took the qualities of those rooms and the adjustability of placing the mic, what mics you want to place, how much anyway, a lot of details. And they built it into software. So I can record in their studios with this plugin. So anyway, so that's, how did I do that? I simply turned on so I'm going to turn off this recorder button here. To record the vocals, I just simply turned on vocal recording. I turned on my monitoring for my guitar track, and I pushed the record button, and I turned to my mic, and I recorded. That's it. So it's not rocket science. It's really quite straightforward. Okay, there's a bit more here that I'm not going to get into, but any questions about what I've just shown you? Okay, now you can all sound like rock guitarists or great guitarists with simple arpeggios. There you go. Okay, let me stop sharing this. And we have covered everything I intended to. Wow, that's pretty magical. And we go to... Okay, see, once again, I'm thrown off by the where is the stop sharing button? Here we go. It's on the other monitor. It's on the other monitor.
There we are.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for watching. I hope it wasn't too fast, too hectic for you, and I didn't give anybody vertigo. I hope not.
Now, if I can get you off of there we go. All right. Well, thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
That was an excellent, excellent job. Hang on. I've got a complication here now. I need to. There we go. All right. Any questions, anybody? Before we go on to John, it's a lot of this sounds complicated. Once you start playing around with a DAW, and as John's going to demonstrate, it's really just getting in there, and you can't do anything wrong. So it's basically just get in and experiment. There are, I can't say enough. There's a lot of free software online, DAW software. Find the one that you test the one and try it and see if you like it. If it works for you, if not, go to another one.
I had a question.
Yes, sir.
What was the thing he was talking about that like you're singing and it brings your voice back into the right key?
A tuner, detuner.
So, yeah, that's a tuner. There are a couple of them. Waves, the company WAVES makes a decent one. A lot of flexibility there.
Auto tune.
Auto tune, yeah. And then there's another one I forget the name of. And you can use it for guitar. You can use it for I would not try to use it for strumming guitar. But if you want when how you bend a string, you press a string a little too hard on an electric and it gets it out of tune. I've never tried that, but it might keep it in tune for you. It just might. Yeah.
Okay.
Auto tune.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? No? Well, then up next is Mr. Buy Me a Pedal Effect and I Love You Long Time, Mr. DeMarco. And I know you've got some good stuff for us. I can't wait to hear your presentation, seeing I haven't heard yours. I've only heard Michael's earlier, post pre-show. So anyway, you go for launch there, Mr. John.
All right. Everybody can hear me okay? And you can see my slide deck, I hope.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
So I'm going to start off by just talking briefly. We talked last time about microphones, but just to kind of remind anybody who was on last time, there's several different kinds of microphones. There's dynamic, there's condenser, and USB mics. And I keep things pretty simple. I use a condenser mic most of the time in my little rig here because I'm teaching lessons, and the condenser has kind of a wider cone of what it picks up, and so I can move around a little bit more when I'm teaching and don't have to worry about having my mouth right up to the microphone. And I'll show you in just a minute. Dynamic mics, though, are really, really good for if you're going to be up and close and personal with that mic. And that's one of the things you really should think about when you are recording. In general, you want to have, you want to be pretty close to the microphone. And we've all seen, artists sort of kissing the microphone. But, what that helps with a couple things is it puts more volume into the mic. It also keeps, hopefully, some ambient noise from not showing up on the microphone, in the input. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. What I was going to go to next here, though, is these microphone types, condensers and dynamic microphones. And we went through this last time, so I won't go through the slide and bore you with it. But just remember that again, the dynamic mics, more focused frequency response, and it's more of a wide frequency response with a condenser mic. And then, by the way, you may want to mic not just a vocal, you might want to actually mic your guitar, right? If you've got an acoustic. The simplest rig that you could have would be an audio interface into your DAW with one microphone. And we'll kind of look at that in a minute here. And then, you might do something with two microphones, one for your guitar and one for your voice. Now, I would tell you that if you do that, you're going to have what's called bleed over. You're going to pick up a signal on both microphones, regardless. Just because your head and your guitar are so close to each other, even with two microphones. Now, this happens quite often in a live environment with acoustic guitars in the past, but now a lot of acoustic guitars have also got a built-in preamp, and so you can actually plug into an acoustic guitar, and that's how I generally use my acoustic guitar. And I'll show that to you in just a minute here. Again, remember that there's those different kinds of connections, and your interface has to have those different kinds of connections. Michael kind of showed you that the special one on his, where you can put just about any kind of a plug into it, whether it's a balanced input or a line, or if it's with the three pins here. So last but not least, I want to talk about what are generally called pop filters or windscreens. And most microphones will come with something when you buy them, but you can certainly buy them on their own. And the most common are these kind of flexible foamy things that go onto dynamic mics. And you see that it goes over on the left-hand side there, it goes over that ball on the end of the microphone. And then on some condenser mics, you might see either a plastic or a metal windscreen that goes in front of it. And then last but not least, what you see quite often are these pop filters or windscreens that are literally you connect them to the stand, and then you put it in front of the microphone. And what this is supposed to do is a couple things. You'll hear people call them windscreens, but it's really more about getting rid of the pop that's coming out of your mouth, the sounds. And sometimes they can be really huge. It can be like a big boom, right? And so by putting a little bit of material in between you and the microphone, even when you're up close, it generally, will soften that. And so highly recommend it. Now, last thing I wanted to talk about before I show you my rig is microphone stands. You got to have them unless you're going to hold it the whole time, which I really would say don't do. And so you got to, there's several kinds, right? There's these little mic stands that sit on your desktop, like the ones on the left here, quite inexpensive, and typically, have a little accessory knob or a little accessory that will let you put different size microphone clips on there. And usually they go up and down a little bit, right? They're not real tall, but because they're built for a situation where you're on a desktop. And then you have floor stands, and you've got the one here, third from the left, which has got an articulated arm, right? And then a tripod, and so you can bend that microphone around and get it right where you want it to be. And then a regular old-fashioned mic stand, which is just you can make it higher and lower. But that's it. It's really made for standing up and singing or playing or talking. What I use in my rig is this one with the folding arm, and I like it because I can just grab it and move it around where I want it to be. Right now it's sitting in between my two monitors, and so I can't really move it left to right very much, but I can move it closer to my mouth or farther away if I want to. And all of these you can buy for $15 up to hundreds of dollars, on just about any website. And so it's whatever you're going to be comfortable with. I will tell you that I like when you can isolate the microphone from the desktop, because if you are on a little short stand like these are, it will many times pick up the sound of your fingers on the desktop, or your mouse clicking, or it actually kind of booms like a drum almost, or something like that. So I moved away from these desktop mics to the one with the arm, because it's gives me a little bit more, even though it's clamped onto the desktop, it gives me a little bit more flexibility, and I don't pick up as much ambient noise as usual. So there ends the lesson on mics and mic stands. I now want to share my DAW, and yep, okay, so you should be seeing my DAW. And again, this is GarageBand, but any DAW is going to have similar features, right? You're going to have a pane on there that shows you the tracks, the individual tracks. Like Michael only had 2, I've got several here, and I'll walk through these in a minute with you. But the question becomes, well, how do you know if you've got a decent signal coming in, either from your guitar or from your microphone? And so there's a couple ways that you can do that. I'm going to show you a very simple way that I've done it for a long time. And to do that, I need to unshare that and then change to a different camera. There we go. So first off, here's my microphone, and you can see here's my little windscreen that fits on my condenser. Okay. It also came with a foam one of these. Okay, so I could use either one. And I don't have one of those, disc-shaped ones that sit up in front here, but, maybe I'll get one day because, guitarists like gizmos and gadgets. And then if I change my angle here, I'm going to go down and show you my Scarlett. And maybe I'll move my camera just a little bit closer. All right. And this is the only thing I will say is my setup is much simpler than Michael's because I don't currently go out and gig, although he's making me want to. So I'm thinking about that. But I've also got a Scarlett, but it's a smaller version than what Michael has. Mine's called a 2i2. I just replaced my old one, which is this one here. It's an M Audio. And in both instances, I've only got 2 inputs, okay? And so this one is one that served me really well for years, and then I got jealous of Michael, and I got the 2i2, the Focusrite. But, basically, same kind of a thing, 2 volumes or gains, basically, for my guitar and my mic, a headphone, and then a monitor. And if I look at my Focusrite here, you'll see that my headphone jack is going in right here, and I've got a volume so I can turn up the sound. There's a great little amp in there. I've got monitors hooked up, which I won't show you because they're buried right now. But here's the volume for my monitors if I wanted to listen through my monitors rather than my headphone. And then notice as I'm talking, I've got this little halo happening on channel 1. Now, my microphone is actually plugged into the back on this one. And you can see here's where my microphone input is with that 3-pin plug. On the back here, you can also see I've got my 2 outs from my left and right speaker. And then this is the USB port and the cord that goes into my computer. So pretty simple setup. And then the question becomes, well, how do I know I have a good signal going into my DAW? And this is probably one of the things you're going to have to play around with. Now, on my old one, it literally only had a green LED that flashed when it was okay, a yellow one when I was getting close to what's called clipping, and a red one when it was obviously catching a distorted signal. On this one, they have what they call the halo, and as I'm talking, you can actually see that thing dancing. And it might jump up, depending on into the yellow there a little bit, but for the most part, it's just in the green. And this particular model, and Michael's, you can do a thing called auto gain. And I'm not going to teach you that. I'm going to teach you how the old-fashioned way of doing this is, which is you plug your guitar in, and then, or your microphone, and then you start testing, and you set your level by looking at whatever your feedback is for you don't want to clip. And what is clipping? Clipping is where the signal is so hot that some of it basically distorts or disappears completely. Okay? And as Michael was saying, distortion is kind of good on a guitar amp. It's not good when you're recording, because what you want is the purest sound you've got, and then you can do other things to it to make it sound, as cool as you want, including distortion, right? Because you can use plugins and stuff. So I'm just going to grab my acoustic guitar, which is plugged into channel 2 right here, okay, which is this white cable. And because I've got my microphone on, you're going to hear this through the microphone too. But you'll see on channel 2 now I've got a green signal. But if I turn my gain up too far, see, now I'm going in, I've got yellow, I had orange there for a minute, right? So what you want to do is you want to take this preamp, this amp, this gain, and you want to make sure that it's green, maybe barely going into the yellow. And now you know you've got a clean signal. It's as simple as that. And now you know you've got your interface set correctly. Then the next step is to go to the DAW, which we're going to do in just a second here. Okay? So again, every interface is a little bit different. You might have LEDs that are real fancy, and they, there might be a 8 or 10 of them, and you kind of go up from green to yellow to orange to red. Or it might be a halo like this, or it might be as simple as the one I showed you before, where it's literally flashing green, it's flashing yellow, or it's flashing red, and you have to figure out where to set your balance. But that's really the basic thing. Is what you're doing is you're amplifying the sound from your microphone or your guitar. So I'm going to switch back to this. And now I'm going to share my DAW again. Any questions, by the way? So far? Okay, participants can now see my application. That's a good thing. All right. We doing okay? All right. So,
That's good.
okay, what I thought I would do next is I was just going to show you a little bit about, okay, so now I've got it set on my audio interface. I think I've got a good signal going into the computer, right? And now I'm going to go to my natural voice, and it's turned off. Hang on. There we go. And you're probably getting a little bit of echo and a little bit of other stuff going on, and if you're not, that's okay. But now I'm on this natural vocal channel in my DAW, and you'll see here that I've also got a way to look at how much signal is coming into my DAW. So I've got my audio interface set correctly, and as I'm just talking right now, I can tell that this is a pretty good signal. It's going into the yellow just a little bit, but it's not hitting orange or red, okay? And one of the things you want to do when you record is leave a little bit of headroom. And what that is a little bit of space where when you're doing a final mix down, you could actually bring the level of something back up a little higher than it was recorded without distorting it. That's the easiest way I can think of saying it. And so whether it's a vocal or a guitar part, you don't want to record with this all the way up as high and then go, okay, that sounds good. And by the way, the next time we get together, we're going to talk about mixing and getting a final recording, right, that you can share with folks. But again, you want to leave some room here so that if you need to turn the volume up, you can. Also notice at the top of the screen, there's a master volume, and you can see that it's still in the green here, right? And that's a good thing. Again, green is good, orange and red is bad. And so, that's pretty simple. And then what I've got going here under this natural voice is I've actually got a few things set up. We've got echo, we've got EQ going, and compression we could if we wanted to. And then the last thing I would just mention is, again, when we were talking about this with Michael, that you have to have the right channel for your input. I can't tell you how many times I sit there and I'm playing or I'm singing or I'm doing something and it's like, dang it, what's wrong with this computer, right? And all it is I didn't pick the right input for the track that I'm on, okay? So, look at that. You can turn monitoring on or off. Right now I've got it on and I can hear an echo in my headphones. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. But if I turn that off, now I don't have that echo or that reverb, okay? So, so let me also just point out that what happens on most DAWs is whatever track you highlight is the one that you're going to record on. Now, can you record multiple tracks at one time? You absolutely can. But again, you have to think about is that a good idea? Because you might, like say if you've got two microphones, you might get bleed over, right? And so that means that your voice is showing up on your guitar track, or your guitar is showing up on your voice track. So what I typically do is I record them separately. And what I really do to begin with is I start off with what I call a scratch track. And that's just where I get the basic idea of the song down and into the box, right? And then I'm going to use that as a guide, A, for what not to do, B, to make me feel bad about how I sing. And then, C, finally, it gives me something to kind of work on for the rest of the song of like, where does the verse go? What do I want to do with the rest of my orchestration and stuff like that. So just to give you guys an idea of what I would do, I would start with in this case, and I'm not going to sing to you, by the way, so Michael's a much better singer than I am, but if I was going to record something, I would start off with a scratch track, and in this instance, I'm going to turn off a couple, or turn on, this one, and hopefully you'll hear this, if everything is working right still. Okay. Okay, so two things going on there. One is I set my level for my guitar as best as I could. Now, even though I'm not going to use this track, it's just a good habit to get into, right? And then the other thing is you heard that clicking. It's called a click track. And I can turn that off up here. Think of it as a metronome, and it goes with this number right here, 120 beats per minute basic rate, right? BPM. Now, if you're not going to add drums or other people, you can just turn this thing on like a tape recorder and start recording, right? But if you're going to put MIDI instruments or other people playing with you or drums, then you've got to have a beat. And so that's what I use that click track for, so that I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, right? And then I can turn it off because it drives me crazy. But at least I get my initial recording with my guitar, hopefully in the right rhythm. And I can just turn that off by clicking right here, up here on this particular piece of software. Now, the next thing that I do when I build my tracks is, okay, I hate the click track, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some drums to this. Now again, the drums are controlled by the beats per minute, right? The drums that come on your DAW, and they all have them, they're all predicated on the basis of what is the beats per minute that you're going to run. And by the way, you can make that faster or slower in the future. However, it might do strange things to your voice when you're singing, right? So you got to be careful with this. Try to pick a beat and stick with it, I guess is what I'm going to tell you. But what the first thing I would do then is I would put some drums with this, but I don't want the drums to start right away. So you see this space here? That's because I don't want the drums to start right away, and I'll show you in a minute why. But I'm gonna turn that on. Okay, and basically what I've done here is, okay, now I've got a basic drum track, but this sounds kind of Latin to me. So I decided, well, I'm going to put some timbales in. Okay, and by the way, I'm going to stick those as part of the introduction. Now, what I want you to know is I didn't program any of this drum stuff, right? It's just choices I can make in the DAW. It comes with it. Every DAW comes with some drum sets. It comes with some, rhythm tracks that you can use and reuse, right? But so now I got my timbales and I've got my drums. Well, one more thing, and I won't go into detail here unless you guys want us to do a segment sometime. I said, well, I need a little bit of bass. Now, what I did with the bass was I used my keyboard. But if you look here, you'll see that these are the only notes that I played. Those are the ones that are in bright white. And the rest of these are just repeating what I played. Okay, so now listen to this. So I only had to play this little tiny bit right here at the beginning, and then I can repeat that as many times as I want for the song. Now, what I did then was I said, you know what, I really hate this guitar track that I did originally. So let's turn that off and let's turn on what I call my real rhythm track, which is this next one, this blue one here, okay? And what I did was I switched over from my electric guitar to my acoustic, plugged directly into. And then finally, not to bore you guys too much, and I'm horrible at lead, I added a lead line. Okay, here it comes. Now, that was kind of cool, right? It's the stadium spread, but what it really sounded like probably was this. So this is the cool part. It's non-destructive. Whatever you record into here, you can continue to play with once you've got it recorded well, right? So you can have a really distorted guitar sound, or you can have a really mellow guitar sound. You can have all kinds of reverb on your voice. You can pull it back. What essentially you're recording is you're recording the purest sound you can, and then you're adding these plugins to enhance it. And I love, by the way, I love the auto-tune. And I've got the one from Waves, and I'm just starting to play with it because, again, you don't want to hear me sing. But I thought I'd just kind of go through. So what I'm saying is, yeah, 2 tracks is great, and I do a lot of things with 2 tracks. But I do like to add a little bit of other stuff. And most DAWs, I think all DAWs that I've looked at, have got drums. They've got MIDI instruments. If you own a bass guitar, you can plug that in just like your electric or your acoustic and create a bass line. And it's a great way to while away an afternoon. So let me just check my notes real quick here and see if I've missed anything really big. Let's see. We talked about distance to the mic, the pop filters. Oh, yeah. Well, so monitoring and headphones, Michael talked a little bit about it, but it's important that you do have a decent pair of headphones. I like a lot of bass, so these are closed. But when I do a mix, I usually do it with my monitors. And again, set at that, kind of pyramidal or triangle thing that Michael was talking about. And then, you know, vocal performance, all I would tell you is one of the beautiful things you can do is the same thing with playing. You can keep recording tracks, and then and we'll show you the next time, you can cut different parts of these tracks together. So if you think about the old days, they used to take tape and they would splice these pieces of tape together to make a final cut. And you can do the same thing here. And we'll show you that before we do an actual mix down, is where you can do, say you're doing a guitar solo or a vocal, you can pick different parts of that and you can put it all together so that it sounds like you sang it perfectly from beginning to end. But the reality is you probably didn't, and you're just a little bit of a magician on the computer. So I'm going to take a big deep breath. Any questions, thoughts, concerns?
All right. Oh, let's see. All right, here we go. Guys, this is our chance to go ahead and open this up to all of us. So everybody unmute. Well, let's have a little talk about this. If you have any questions, if you got any comments, we covered a lot to do just a little simple recording, and it really doesn't take a whole lot of computer knowledge. It just a little bit of point and click, and sometimes just a little dragging, and you can really play with these and have a good time with DAW software and the plugins to create your own songs and your own music. Yes, sir.
So, quick question. So Jay was asking a question about Rocksmith, and it kind of falls along the same lines of what I was kind of wondering about, because I really like my old tube amp that a friend rewired for me. And how do I like that room feel? And that is can you mic up like would you take, so like the Rocksmith is from a game and you can play it over the speakers. Would you work on like microphone placement to try to run that through a DAW, or like how would you catch a room sound and cram that through a
microphone?
It's microphone type and microphone placement. It really is. And each room is going to have its own sonics, its own sound signature. I won't show you that Capitol Records chamber, right? But I could move those mics. I could put the mics taller or shorter. I could change mics. I could move them around in the room, and it mimics the actual chamber. So that's what you do with the microphone in the physical space. Yeah.
There are acoustic environmental simulators.
Yeah.
You can find those in a lot of plugins. Easy enough to use. It just sounds like if you wanted a carpeted room or a tiled room or
right,
a
shower, a bathroom.
Well, and you know what? I mean, I got to tell you, who's Billie Eilish and her brother. I can't think of his name. He's a fantastic producer. They literally do stuff like they'll go into a bathroom in a bathtub and they'll record some part of the music. One of their songs, they recorded, the little tick, tick, tick noise that happens when you push a button to go across the street, right? They recorded that, and then they did a bunch of stuff to it in the DAW to turn it into beat for the track, right? So
Yep.
you can be very, very, creative with this stuff.
Yeah.
As far as miking an actual amplifier, I mean, you can put the mic anywhere you want, but you can put it literally right up to it, to the, and then choose, do you want it on the lower part of the cone, or do you want it at the higher part, or do you want it 3 feet away or a foot away? Just be careful setting your levels, right? And then the other thing is with amplifiers is, remember that, when they recorded Layla, the first rock and roll version in the 70s, that was a 5-watt amp that was dimed, in the other room with a microphone with it, right? You don't have to have a 40-watt or, a 200-watt amp, to get that distorted sound. It's all about, you and, whatever you got handy. So.
Right.
And
Jay?
I want to address. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Then I'm going to address a
Jay, you
question
had a
that happened
question?
earlier. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. Where do we get the plugins for GarageBand?
So there are a number of companies. Waves is one. Isotope is another one. There are a number of plugin companies. It comes with a certain set of standard plugins, and when you install the software, you go up to the setup, and there's a place to download all the sounds. Is what I think it says. So you want to grab everything they offer for free and put it in there. Play with those. The other thing I'll mention is that these companies often give away plugins as sort of like lost leaders. And so you get on their mailing list and you'll say, hey, this plugin's free this month, right? Or you buy 2 and you get 2 more, right? So you don't have to pay full price for these things too often. And you can mix and match. They're all individual. The DAW that you use will determine what version of the plugin, whether it's an AU, audio unit plugin, or other plugins, little suffixes. That's the DAW decides what you can use. Logic only uses AU, but there are other variants of those plugins that do the same thing, but just for different DAWs. Yeah.
Usually,
That is,
when you buy them, they give you your choice of
yeah.
which ones do you want to download, right?
Or install. Yeah. They may say, do you want to install all these? It just, yeah. Does that answer your question, Jay? Okay, so the thing I wanted to point out earlier was, if I can remember what it was. Okay, so I forget, was it Leaf that you asked about setting up for the room or for the performance area? When I do some country songs, I set them up in my main stage to sound like I'm in a big auditorium with reverb echo, right? So my guitar has that little slap back. My vocals have a little slap back. And it sounds like I'm in a big auditorium, but I might be outside or in a little room, just because that's sort of the style of some of those country songs. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of doing all this stuff on the computer, right? Is you're not limited to what you're, the space that you're in.
Yeah.
It's really more the creative, and I always say, nothing ever sounded bad with a little bit of reverb. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
And I'll give you,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, this smooths out a lot of pain. But I wanted to say that there's levels of changing your sound, right? There's levels. Some of the sweetest guitar vocals you'll ever hear are just mic'd, right? It's raw. It's the emotions come through on the vocals. The guitar comes through, and then you go from there. What are you trying to fix, first of all? And can you fix it? Like, I don't pop on my mic anymore. So I have a windscreen, but I have a pop filter. I don't use it because I don't pop on my mic anymore. I know how to sing without that, right? So whatever you can do physically, your guitar playing or your vocals, do that, right? Learn how to sing on pitch, right? And then use these things to sort of tweak them. I go through. I have software that runs inside Logic. I can change the pitch of a phrase, a sound, a note in my singing. I can lengthen, or I can do a whole lot of shit with, excuse my French, with my vocals to make it sound any way I want. And but I don't do that to go crazy with it. I just fix little things, right? I change little things that need to be changed so it sounds more professional. And that happens all the time in production music, as you know.
Sometimes less is more.
Yeah, sometimes, but sometimes less is more. So don't go too crazy, right? Decide, why am I doing this? Am I fixing something? Can I fix it in my right, my own singing, etc. And then if I can't do it there easily, right, or it's going to take some time, years maybe, then let me tweak it. And then you say, okay, what is the sound I'm trying to achieve here, and what plugins do I need to do that? Right. So always, I mean, you can play around. I love playing around with plugins, but you could spend your life doing that, right, John?
Oh yeah. That's the
I
danger.
spent 4 hours the other day just playing around with traction.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. Plugins are crazy. You can do all sorts of things. But I was so, for example, on the song that I demoed for you, right? While my guitar gently weeps, I wanted something different. I wanted something ethereal. I knew that ahead of time, and so I went through my sample, my plugins to look for something that would give me those tones and that quality of music for my guitar that I wanted. My voice is more dreamy, it's more drawn out, it's more reverby, right? And so, but that was the sound I was looking for before I started opening plugins. So anyway, just some thoughts on that.
Kurt, you had a comment or a question earlier?
I have one on the Scarlett, the 4i4. The they have two separate monitor outputs, like for an A and a B. Is that how that works on that? And does the volume on the front control both of those outputs, like to monitors A and monitors B?
Well, so when I run my 4i4, there's the large knob on it, which controls the volume to everything. So my 4i4 actually runs out to my PA, and the software that comes with it allows you to set up where sound goes, whether it's headphones, monitors, PA. Is it the monitor sound coming out of your recording? Is it the playback sound? It's complicated, but it's very powerful. So the knob controls all of the volume except for my headphones.
Okay.
Okay, and then on the back of it, I have multiple outputs that I route things to. And I mentioned earlier, I generally use my big knob for my monitors and my PA sound, because it's just easy to reach over there and spin that with my finger than it is to reach way over and use a
Yeah,
little
surely.
knob. But that's it, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Anybody
I,
else?
I think on that 4i4, you can actually adjust even what that knob does. Like I think there's a lot of features there's that I got that after our last guitar shop, and I'm still tinkering and figuring that one out.
Well,
It's a lot.
there's a mixer, right? So you can mix the sound from coming out of your playback. So it's got six, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 playback, and I can boost the sound of each of those. Those are the inputs, and then where I send it is different. So yes, you can. It's very complicated. If you want to make it that way, read the manual, look for the videos, because
But
it can be
but it
difficult.
also works great as a standalone amp that you can use to control other audio. I mean, it's a
Yes,
neat machine. There's
it is. It
a
is a neat
lot to
machine.
it.
It has high quality preamps, which means that the noise floor is very low, so you're not going to hear noise as much as you will in a low quality preamp setup. No, it's really very, very cool.
And it comes with a ton of software.
And yes, it does. Yep.
My 2i2, I haven't even explored everything that comes with it. But there's two DAWs in there for sure, Ableton Live and Cubase, I think. There's Autotune. Jay was asking about that earlier. Autotune comes, or a version of
A
Autotune
version of it. Yeah, yeah.
comes free. You do have to give them your name, rank, and serial number and an email address that works, but you can download all that stuff for free. There's a Marshall amp that I'm just having a ball with.
Yep. Plug in.
Again, a plug-in, right, that you can run in the DAW. And then a whole bunch of other things that I haven't gotten my hands on yet. But
And you know what? You could spend your life loading up free software too.
mhm.
So my advice to you again,
Start
decide on
simple.
your DAW,
Yeah, start
right?
simple.
get your basic stuff that comes with the DAW, play with it, and then go, what am I looking for? Um, I mean, I've installed software. I can't believe how many pieces of or plugins I've tried out and go, nope, 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 nope. Clear my desktop, right? Get them out of my computer. This is what I like using. You know, I can, if I need something different than this, I'll look later. But you can get inundated with free software.
My whole right side of my monitor is just stacked up with music stuff.
Yeah, but it's like
That's
everything else, right? You'll
everything
never
from
use.
plugins, DAWs,
Yeah,
guitar rigs,
yep, yep. And like everything else you buy and sits in a closet somewhere, most of it you probably will never get back to.
or behind you is a nice back set. I still have yet to try to hook up my Line 6 modeling amp, my Spider 4, to my interface to go into the DAW to see how well that's going to work direct without miking it.
Let me make a note about that because we had questions about Beat Buddy and right. So any device that has an audio output, your mobile phone, right, you can run in through your audio interface,
Right.
and you can record it. There are line level signals, right? If it's intended to go into something outside of like a speaker or an amplifier or anything else, you're not going to blow up your audio interface with it. And so I do that with my Trio Plus. I lay down bass and guitar tracks, drum tracks rather, on my Trio Plus. I plug it in to my audio interface. I set it up so the levels are correct, and then I record individual bass and drum backing tracks. And I like the Trio Plus because it actually listens to my guitar and then decides what those sound like based upon what it hears in my guitar. And the rhythm, and then I can change it a number of ways. On the dials, right, it's a physical pedal, it's no software backing behind it. But that's what I do, and so anything with an audio out can go in through your audio interface into your DAW.
Will the Scarlett work on PC or Mac? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Cool.
Doesn't matter, yep.
You may have to download a driver depending on how old your PC is, but it'll let you know that when it's got what do they call it, Michael, like a quick start or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And generally, any device that you buy that plugs into a computer should work on both platforms. You just check the manufacturer. But the device itself, they tend to be computer agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's providing a signal and a connection to run its software through the USB port. That's all it's doing. So as long as you get the drivers, but check the manufacturer of the device first and see.
It did not work for Windows 8. So I had to get something.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I had to get a laptop.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what,
Do you have a fishing boat? You should take that.
Motor.
Yeah, I mean, didn't you have to dodge dinosaurs while you were using a Windows 8 computer? It's that old, right?
Yeah, I believe that you had to do something special with Windows 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, most of it is plug and play, and again, I would just say start off, small, right? Couple of inputs, a couple of mics, or a line from your guitar and a microphone. Record each thing separately, right? And make sure your levels are set correctly as best as you possibly can. The other thing with the Scarletts, and again, we don't push anything, but Michael made me a believer, and they have an auto gain function where you basically push a button and you play or sing, and it says, "Yep, I gotcha." It's all great. But otherwise, you can use the manual way use the knobs like I did, and get a good signal going in.
Yeah. Or if you're using like Logic Pro, for example, or MainStage, you can watch the gain indicators, meters in the software while you're singing, and you can adjust it that way. So it's a couple of ways of doing it. Yeah, yeah. And by the way, if you ever plan on getting into MIDI, right, you want to step on a button on a pedal, or you want to play a MIDI keyboard and create your music that way, make sure your audio interface has a MIDI input. at least a MIDI input, and what happens is the MIDI signal goes to the audio interface, and then it goes out over the USB cable into your computer to the MIDI control software. And
That's
most of
good.
them do. Most of them do. But just something to look for.
I haven't looked yet, but that's kind of, I think maybe I might have, because I'm using a Behringer Xenix that has an audio interface in it, which is a 8-channel mixer. And but I would from as far as MIDI goes, I'm not certain, but if I need to plug in my controller, I just plug direct into my computer and
Now,
then line that up.
yeah. And
Uh,
by the way,
but
MIDI
I'd
runs
rather
over.
have a MIDI
Oh, sorry.
interface. It would work better.
Well, MIDI runs over Bluetooth too.
Right.
WiDi makes a device it's MIDI over wireless Bluetooth, and your computer might get it directly, or you may have to plug something in. But that's another
Right.
way to pass MIDI signals.
I get a little concerned about latency with Bluetooth.
Not on MIDI. Not on MIDI's
Not
sending
on MIDI?
numbers. Oh,
Okay.
MIDI's, yeah, it's not sending sound.
That's right.
It's it's
Numbers,
sending
right.
like a character string that's 6 characters long, right, or something,
Right.
right? That's
Right.
all.
I keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
That's why you're the mad genius, Michael. And I'm the lead
Yeah.
guitar player.
Thank you. Okay. I love our rules.
Anything else, anybody? I hope you all found this pretty informative today. Uh, we were hoping that when we connected with the audio interface that we were going to help out Tom Lamog's songwriters also. So it was kind of nice that we were kind of like a unknown collaboration that we didn't know was going to really work out. So if that is all for today, then we are going to have part 3, right, fellas?
Mm-hmm.
Which is going to be recording. Recording that'll cover post recording, mixed, which is also known as mix down. We're going to do some tips and some troubleshooting, and then a summary and some of the next steps on the next Guitar Shop. So the Guitar Shop is now closing. We will be back on August 9th. That's the second Saturday of the month at 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. We're still in Eastern Daylight then, right? Yeah. A promo will be posted with the time and date and a Zoom link wherever you get your information regarding Guitar for Vets events. A reminder that Tom Lamog has his monthly iJam gathering on the first Thursday of every month. We had a blast, didn't we, Mike, on this last one? And watch for upcoming events on CavArts, the CavArts web page for time and dates on Tom's iJam, and that's usually around 8:30 Eastern. Okay.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Do those 4i2 and 4i4s, do they have a MIDI input?
4i4 does, yeah.
Okay,
It's got
thank you.
MIDI in and MIDI out, so you can pass MIDI signals through it to other MIDI devices if you want.
2i2 does not, but what I do with mine is I run my keyboard with a USB directly into another USB port. And since I'm not playing it at the same time that I'm singing, etc., I don't have to worry about any kind of latency or that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
Okay, I have an old Digitech Genesis 3 MIDI panel that I bought a long time ago. Will that thing still work into?
you may need to get like a MIDI to USB connection.
Okay.
And you can find those on, any of the music websites or whatever. I might have one around. If I do, I'll send you a picture of it. But
Okay.
otherwise, just look it up. And the big thing, remember all that we talked about connections?
Yeah.
You need something that translates from. I've got an old Korg M1, and that's what I had to do. I had to get a USB to an old MIDI input and output. It was about $15, and my Korg from the 80s works perfect. So
There you go. MIDI is MIDI.
yeah,
So
exactly. So
Thanks.
that was the point. Yeah.
All right. So thank you all for being a part of today's discussion. As always, my greatest heartfelt thanks to the guitar gurus, Mr. Michael O'Connell, Mr. John DeMarco. And Guitar for Vets is a 501c3 non-for-profit dedicated to providing relief to struggling veterans through the healing power of music and community. Since 2007, Guitar for Vets has served at-risk United States veterans impacted by PTSD and other service-related trauma. Through our unique 10-week structured program, guitar instruction program, putting the healing power in the hands of our nation's heroes, helping to foster renewal, connection, and community. And on that, I am ending the recording. The guitar shop is officially closed.